Good afternoon, welcome back to the Bird Room. I'm Shane from Direct Bird Products. Today I just want to touch on a couple of new things we've got coming. Um, a lot of these are what's been asked for over the well last few months since we've been doing this channel. Um, Also, I'm going to talk about some things about eggs and chicks and moving them as your midweek tip. But firstly, we'll start off with some of the stuff that we've just added. Basically, cage fronts. There was quite a shortage of cage fronts at the beginning of the year. Obviously, Brexit's had a big effect on getting certain things in. And a lot of people have asked me for the cage fronts that I'm actually using. We are working still on getting some of these ones made at this size. Proving a bit difficult because obviously they are long, but we're working on it. This one, however, is one that I've fitted to my specification because it actually fits the cages. It's exactly the same as the ones that's behind me in the cages. It is 50 centimeters long by 30 centimeters high. I asked for it to have the bars on in case people want to make their own cages. They can actually do it with these, but whereas mine just flip into the grooves at the top. Two feeding flaps that's in there for the external feeder hoppers. A door there that opens up perfectly for external nests. Now I specifically asked for a bar to put on this one for the nest pans, hookable nest pans, for the front of the cages, or if you wanted, like I will show you shortly, the up wires that for the nest pan that fits in there. So I mean, we have only got I think about 100 of these available, and no doubt they will go quite quick. But I only ordered 100 because obviously they had to print the jig and get it to how I wanted. But like I said, they're exactly carbon copy with the door, everything as same as the ones that's behind me in them cages. But yeah, I mean, we are still working on the other bits. Now, as far as other bits, we have actually got the white nest inlays. I know a lot of the goldfinch breeders do use these. One of my friends in particular has asked for these many times. We've actually managed to source them as well. So they're actually available. Really nice, soft. Perfect for certain nests. I haven't got one here. The external wire nests, they fit in a dream. They're brilliant. One thing that I think I would have been using if I would have had them sooner, and that is these little plastic wires, plastic nest with the wire hooks that basically you just bend over to curve onto your position of your cage. Like I said, they'd fit perfectly on that there, just as for your red poles, siskins, even canaries. These are before, if you are using them for canaries, your Fifes, Irish Fancies, Rasas, they'd be no good for red factors or anything above that size, Gloucesters, Norwich, Yorkies. They're just too small. I've said before that the good thing about such as these, rather than the generic solid nest, plastic nest ones, is if you do get any mite in the nest, you can actually take them off and literally spray underneath, and less surface contact or areas for the mites to hide. I mean, I can see them being a brilliant addition. I mean, like the white ones do fit in there, but obviously there's a bit of a gap at the bottom. But I think they would work well together. Popularly demanded was these. These what I'm using actually. I've got my Siberian bullfinches nesting in these with a grass insert. Even had greenfinches nesting in these last year. These are very deep. Norwich, most of my Norwich I've nested in these. I've got one, two over there now nesting in these because Norwich and Yorkies as well do like to build towers for nests. With these being quite deep, this allows for them to do that. But I mean, these are brilliant. Greenfinches, they have obviously a big nest. Bullfinches, anything that's bigger, Yorkies, Norwich, these would be ideal for, especially with Norwich being lazy, and obviously they've got a perch on the front for them to actually stand and feed if they're going to feed the young ones themselves. Now, I have been asked for these many a times. These are 200 centilitre ones. What I'm using, but they're an upgrade to what I'm using. So basically, these are screw-on bottoms. At least they speak for themselves, so they're not going to fall off, and they do fit these snugly, as you can see. Anti-algae, so they are brilliant. But like I said, we've got them back in stock. I have been asked so many times for these, but some of the stuff is just took a lot longer to get in from Europe than it would have done without Brexit being a pain in the backside, as you can see. And last but not least, obviously you've seen these. These are ideal in your aviaries. One thing about these is, as if you winter your birds in flights, even as now with young ones in there, if you've got more than one pair, the good thing about these is you won't get birds crapping on each other. Obviously they've got this V protector to stop birds from exactly what I said. They'll sit there and roost there, and they will shit, as you like, where they do sleep. So if a bird is directly underneath, that protects them from being crapped on. They're actually, technical name is the bird seat, but we know them as V perches and stuff like that. So we have got them in beige. I did say it was that was the last one, but like I said earlier, we have got these nest pan holders in. These are in a grey. We do still have some in the stainless steel, but these are powder coated grey. Very durable, ideal for hanging on the front. In fact, I have said this before, when I was actually doing my flights for my greenfinches and stuff, I did actually use these with the grass inserts inside, cable tied on. And 4 of my pair of greenfinches I've gone on the front with these, with the actual grass liner in, rather than the cocoa ones in the back. Like I said, every bird is individual, but I'm not trying to sell them to you just because I'm using them. But they are quite universal for the other, like I've got over here. So that's that. Now, they're the new bits we've got in. If you would like information on them, feel free to drop me a message on Facebook, Direct Bird Products, or if you are interested in any, head over to the website, that is directbirdproducts.com. It's so easy, literally just put in your basket what you want and check them out. It's that simple, can't be any easier. But as I said, for today, just a little things, and it's quite simple for me to overlook certain things, and a lot of you breeders out there have done this for a long time. But when we've got newcomers, and we're talking about eggs and chicks, it's easy for us to overlook it and do it as second nature because we've done it for years. One of them, I'll start off with this. A question is commonly asked is, how come certain eggs hatch over the incubation period, whether it be for your red paws like I've explained, or your canaries, greenfinches, or other native finches, which is usually around 14 days. Well, some do take longer because the ends might not be sitting as tight, or what I mean by as tight as mean not sitting fully as they should do for the incubation period. They might sit lighter and not incubate them as much as obviously putting the heat from the body into the eggs to incubate them, which is usually around 37 degrees. I remember that from when I used to do eggs in an incubator, obviously duck eggs, chicken eggs, quail eggs, stuff like that, just to get the kids interested in them and see obviously the circle and the formation of eggs. Obviously doing it in an incubator, they can find that a lot easier, which was, yeah, between 36 and 37 degrees. So far as, like I said, certain birds will overrun that by maybe 3 or 4 days. I've already said to you before that some of mine hatched at 18, 19 days, and by me bobbing eggs knew that they weren't dead in shell. Now, dead in shell simply means that the chick was forming in the egg, didn't survive. It could be humidity, it could be a number of certain things. We've had a lot of cold spells. The end could be sat too tight. There's an array of different things that could stop that bird from developing fully to the period where it should have been hatching. Another thing is how long can you leave eggs in the egg drawer before they will sort of go off? Well, there's no real science to this, and I've not really tested it to a degree. But I've had eggs in the egg drawer before, which I've got actually greenfinch eggs, which is from an hen down there. For some reason she never sits, so I'll put them in there and wait for an adequate bird that will feel that she will actually sit them, incubate them and be able to bring them up. Because obviously with your greenfinches they need more food than what fives would. So they're in there anyway. Up to about 2 weeks, I would say. I mean, I've had these in there for 10 days, and before many a times I've put them in there 10 days. I'm just watching. A bird on there is on eggs, due to hatch in a couple of days, and she's off the nest, and the cockbird just been treading her. So a little bit of action in the shed today. So yeah, around, like I said, I wouldn't personally leave them more than 2 weeks. You don't need to turn them. You just put them in there. Make sure, one thing to remember, as coming up through summer, we're going to get really hot days. I mean, last year 36, 37, 38 degrees we had in the UK, and that could have a detrimental effect on the eggs. As long as your shed, birdhouse, aviaries, wherever you're keeping these eggs stored, is not too warm, they're going to have no problem whatsoever when you actually transfer them over to an hen to incubate them. If it is hot, then obviously they're just going to go off, if you like, and when you put them in, they're never going to develop. So that brings me on to another point, is how long do I leave eggs in the nest when you've got chicks in there, and why do I do that? So basically, I mean, this hen, I will show you the hen in cage 1 later on, but she's still got 1 egg in there now. She's got 3 chicks developing perfectly, and I'll explain it. She had 4, but I've swapped them. I'll explain that shortly. So the reason you may sometimes get 1 clear egg or 1 dead in shell, I don't actually remove it. Sometimes the hens will chuck the egg out on their own accord once the chicks have hatched and it's been in there for a while. I don't take it out. I leave it in till the chicks are about 10 days old, and I'll tell you for why. When the chicks are smaller, if you're getting cold nights and we have had a lot of thunder, lightning and stuff like that, the hens can sit really tight and squash them chicks. With having an egg in there, it does stop the hens sitting as tight, because obviously they can't get through that egg. If you are worried that the hen could do that, and you've got chicks just hatched up to 5 days, simply just put a pot egg in there. I mean, I've got loads I just keep in here. Just by popping a pot egg in there, they're not going to be able to sit past that point, and they will not squash the chicks. It's as simple as that. It's a little trick. I do know some people in the past have used marbles in there for the same results, and it does work. It's just simply stop the hen from sitting too tight, squashing the chicks. Anything that can startle them, can cause them to sit tight. It's a protective mechanism that they do, sit tight, and it just stops all that problem. Right, so that's all on to do with eggs. Right, if you're thinking about the chicks developing, like I said, cage 1 and a pair of fives over there, they both went to nest at the same time. Chicks hatched both the same day, but on both nests, one egg seemed to take a day extra than the other to watch. And at the early stage, 1-2 days, the chicks develop quite quickly. And one was getting left behind in each nest, so 2 or 3 are developing and one wasn't developing as fast because the older chicks was getting fed a lot more because they were more stronger, be able to get up a lot more than the other one. So obviously they're going to be more dominant in the nest, and the hen and the cock is going to feed them more consciously. So simply what I did is got both nests out, had them at the side of each other, which I'll show you shortly. I'll show you as it was and what I did. So I got them at the side of each other, and I could clearly see there was difference in these two. So basically I just swapped them around to make the size difference less noticeable to the ends, to give the ones that weren't as strong more of a chance to survive, which they have done in both nests, and they're both around the same age now. Cage 2 is actually got 5. Originally she only had 4, but from cage 3 there was one the same problem in there. There was feeding, because in fact cage 3 has got 1 young greenfinch in there, which I took out of flight number 4 because there was 3 in there, and what I didn't want to do is put too much stress on the hen to feed 4 rather than 3. So they actually at the same time, same thing with them, is swap them over and make sure they're all getting adequately fed, spread across the chicks. So what happened, obviously the greenfinches themselves are quite greedy buggers, so it knocked one of the chicks back, and obviously that weren't getting fed as much. So same thing again, all I did, simply popped it into cage 2 with the ones at the same age. There's 5 chicks in there, all the same age. Not ideal, I only usually like to keep 4 in the nest maximum, but they're doing a fabulous job of bringing them up and can't grumble with it. So what I'm going to do now is get the nest out of there and the nest out of there and let you have a look at them, so I can actually show you in more description exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully they've not developed too much where you can't see the noticeable difference in them. So these are the 2 nests. Now the one on the left is the one from cage 1, and the one on the right is from the cage over in the wire cages. Now as you can see, there's quite a difference in them sizes, even though, but this is where I'm faced with another problem now. They're a lot smaller, but as I'm speaking to you, one is just popped out of the shell. So a little one in there, look, just actually come out within the last couple of minutes. So we've got, like I said, we have got egg kept in there. So we've actually got 4 in there now, and it proves my point what I was saying, that some eggs will take longer than others. So I'm going to have to find an hen that is hatching now for this little wee one here that is just come out literally. Not an ideal scenario, but like I said, birds do hatch at different points. No matter if you put them back on the same day, they end up sitting tight and things like that can have the effect on that, but it's not a problem. And reason I've got 2 different colour nest pans there, well, the orange ones from the cage number 1 is that's their second round. The white one is their second round, but they're in the other block, so I know that I'm not being contradicted by the ones that's over here. So that's one way I do it sometimes, is use a different colour nest pan for the first round and second round. Just simple advice things for me. So they have been put back in the cages now. The hens are getting off, filling themselves up, ready to feed the young ones. Now just one little tip. It just saw my nest there were perfect, not moving about of anything. What I do to stop, if I'm checking the young ones, just use something like an egg tray. With the actual nest in there, it's not going to move around. There's been many a times over the years when I was younger I'm so young, but when I was younger, is I get a nest out, put it on the side like that, and it's just moving around. It's not ideal, especially if you've got youngins in there, or even eggs. You don't want any of that happening. But yeah, I mean, these things that I'm telling you is just little things that, as I said, I take for granted. I don't even think about it. It's second nature to me. Just one last thing I do want to actually touch on, and that is if you've got chicks in the cage still being weaned off by, say, the father of the cockbird, and as is this hen here, these chicks have just started, the greenfinches just started feeding on their own. The hen is back on eggs. I've left her eggs out an extra couple of days in the egg drawer for one reason. In the past, I've made this mistake, and it can have really bad effects on your year. Basically, second or third round, whichever it is, can basically go out the window if you don't watch this. So what happens is as you're weaning your young'uns, and say she's got 4 or 5 eggs, the young'uns are still not being weaned. So what's going to happen is they're going to be trampling all over the nest and with their feet clumsy as they are, and just basically pierce the eggs. So just watch out, bear that in mind. Leave the eggs out as long as possible if you are running them in pairs, because like I said, what will happen is the eggs will just get smashed and stuff like that by the young ones. It's not their fault, they don't know, and like I said, that hard work got into that round straight out the window before they've even started being incubated. And I've had it many a times, and it's just something to be wary of. So just, yeah, leave them out a couple of extra days, give the young ones that little bit more of a chance to be more independent. Not saying remove them. If you can remove them, remove the cockbird. If he's feeding confidently enough without the hen there, then that's the answer to that question. Remove them, let the hen sit. As soon as they're feeding, pop him back. You'll have no problem. But yes, that is about it. It was just a quick roundup on eggs and stuff like that. So far as in my shed, things are going quite good. Quite happy with how things are going. Some days you will come in and think, that's it, I'm done with birds. Because trust me, you do feel like that. Then some days you'll come in and you think, brilliant, everything's going right, but that is bird keeping. There's nothing you could do about it, and it is what it is. But anyway, yes, Friday's episode, I've got a good friend of mine, Kevin Hogan from Ireland. I've known Kev for some years, and we've had some laughs over the years, especially up at Stafford. Me, him, Jamie Taylor, Les Chatters, many of the Irish lads. We all used to meet up in October before the National and have a really good session on the booze and just rip each other to bits. Things like that. We used to, the bird gatherings back then was, yeah, something to look forward to every year. So I spoke to Kev. He did the one on the foreign finches before. Now he's doing one on British native finches. So just his perspective on things, and it's brilliant to see him getting his kids involved and stuff like that. So tune in Friday 7 o'clock for that. Quite interesting. He's doing really well this year as well. I'm not saying he doesn't every year, but he's off to a flying start, and I wish him all the best. But like I said, visit back in here will basically be in a few weeks' time, so plenty to show you on the next episode in my bird room. I am hoping to, at some point, be visiting Mark, doing a bit of filming there, but as and when, depending. I mean, I'm busy with work. With the website up and running now, it is quite hectic. We'll get round to that. Matt is due at some point. Matt from the Canary Room due at some point as well in June. So plenty happening. Stay tuned. Obviously, there's a lot of developments. By the time the next episode comes, we'll have birds on the stakes. No doubt some bloody birds turning over and things like that, because it does happen. Fingers crossed, not too many of them though. But anyway, that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you Friday 7 o'clock. If you haven't already, like, subscribe. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. hit the notification bell, and that'll tell you when we are uploading. But it is basically the same time. Wednesday 7 o'clock, Friday, every other Friday 7 o'clock. Thanks for watching, and like I said, head over to the website if you have, if you're looking for anything, head over there. If it's not in stock there, give me a message on Facebook, Direct Bird Products. If we haven't got it, we'll see if we can source it for you. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.